So the 6-speed automatic. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're gonna be going over a 2020 Toyota Tacoma in the limited trim package. And this truck happens to be lifted. Now that wasn't the intention for today's video, but well, we get a lifted one regardless. So a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry H. Miller Toyota here in Murray for providing us with this Tacoma. Check out their inventory on the link below. Let's get right into it. Under the hood of this Tacoma Limited, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 278 horsepower and then 265 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 time of around the mid 7-second range. Now, fuel economy is obviously not going to apply with the lift, so we're just going to kind of leave that be. I'll show you guys what the current reading is on that. Let's go over the front end on the Tacoma Limited. So you notice that the hood is the same as pretty much any other standard Tacoma. This one does have the LED light package, which I would definitely recommend getting it. The lights are super bright, which from a practicality standpoint is going to be a really good route to go just with that. But then also from an aesthetic standpoint, they just look so much better. The fog lights are also LEDs, as you can see. That doubles as a sensor, and then notice there is that little camera there on the front end. But overall, this kind of has just like that clean look, and they do kind of like chrome for the accenting, which goes well with the lights. Now, coming to the side here, this is lifted. Now, it is a lift by Tough Country, and it doesn't state how big the lift is, but just looking at the truck with the front and back angle, it looks like it's about 2 inches for the lift. You've got 18-inch rims that are made by Fuel. I just love the look of them, just like kind of like that blacked out look. It kind of like contrasts to the chrome the rest of this truck has. 285 millimeter for the size on the tires. They are BFGs, which those are great off-roading tires. You guys can see the tread on them. Obviously, you guys know that I have a Raptor, and well, I've got the same tires. Absolutely love them, except mine are just a little bit wider. But here's kind of like a full look at that whole suspension setup. Notice it does have running boards, which we'll go over those later, but there's the side, or I guess you should say the back angle, and then here's your full side view with the truck since it's lifted. Now here's the key fob on this Tacoma Limited. You've got a couple functions. You've got the unlock and then the lock and then the Toyota logo on the back. And well, we'll do the remote start. So you just gotta have like the magic touch with the key fob. Usually it works after just pressing it twice, and then the light will blink, and then, well, she'll start right up. Boom! Magic. I'm getting better at remote starting Toyotas, guys. I'm getting a lot better. Let's finish things up in the rear. We are gonna pop into the bed for just a second. Now the tailgate does slow lower down, and then you already have the liner from the factory, which is pretty nice. This one does come with the tonneau cover as well, so obviously that adds some added practicality. You do get these little lights here on both sides of the bed, and then notice that right here you actually do get a full power outlet. So I mean, you can cook toast in the back of your Tacoma, which, yeah, I don't know. But picking up the bed, it is a little bit on the heavier side. Now looking at the rest, you've got your regular badging back here, and then the Tacoma signature kind of like tiny little LED lights here in the rear. But that's everything for the rear, and that's kind of how it stands with the lift in the back. You do have the little limited badge right there, but opening it up, you guys will see the running boards are automated in this, which I think is a pretty cool little setup. You do get this soft touch here on the side of the door. Obviously that's going to come with the limited packaging. Now this one is the double cab, so here's what the seats look like in the rear. You've got the full leather that comes with the limited, and you got this little loop, and if you pull that, you can actually pull the seat forward. You get some extra storage space back there. And then other than that, you guys can see the legroom here, which I'll actually pop in. That'll be a better idea so you guys can kind of see what it is. I'm 5'11". In terms of headroom, I'm about to touch the top, but not quite. And then there's my legroom. There's a couple cup holders, and that's all for the rear. Coming up to the front, we do have keyless entry, and this one does come with blind spot monitoring. Most of the running boards do pop out again. The door panel here in the front looks identical to what's in the rear. And then here are all of your window controls and the mirror controls as well. And then here are the seats at the front. So again, same materials what's in the rear. They just kind of have these a little bit more aggressive bolsters, but they're still pretty open and wide. And then there's kind of like the bottom part. Got the adjustments on the seats, and then here's what the pedals look like in the limited Tacoma. And then you got some controls here. This is for the camera system. We'll go over that later. You got this to turn on some of the power outlets, stability control as well. You got all your circular vents, and then there's kind of like a look at the steering wheel before I pop in. Now that we're in here, all I have to do is just push the push start, and then everything will pop on there. And it says Toyota there, it says Tacoma there. Oh, it went away, sorry. I didn't do that quick enough, but you actually get a little graphic of the Tacoma. Now here is the steering wheel in the Tacoma Limited. You guys will notice that this is pretty similar to the other Tacoma steering wheels that you have seen in the past. You get your like volume controls over here. You got phone controls just down there. You got the controls for the little center stack, and you got little pages button, and then this is for your collision assistance and then your lane departure assistance. They do kind of like the grip of your leather right there where you're gonna grab it, so obviously it's gonna make it better if you do take this off-road where you're not gonna lose your grip. And then you got light controls over on that side, and then you got the windshield wiper controls on the other side. Now here is the gauge cluster. You've got the RPMs over on the left side. On the right side, you've got the speed, and then you got that little center stack, which is configurable. There's what the current MPG says. Now this does have about 1,200 miles on it, as you can see with the odometer. So I mean, the MPG is not like 100% up to date, but I mean, I feel like that's gonna be somewhat accurate what this would be with the lift. But yeah, there's your whole little center stack area thingy. Now with the infotainment system, here is the backup camera. Notice you do get that little bird's eye view here in the Limited, and you can kind of just do like a full view if you don't want to have that bird's eye view with the camera. But in terms of the resolution on it, it's pretty good, and the lines do turn with the steering wheel. Now remember that was that camera button. I'll press that, and then that'll give me that bird's eye view again, and then the view out the front and the sides. So obviously it'll make it better if you do take this off-road, and then just parking it, it'll also make that easier. With the rest of the infotainment system, in terms of response time, the buttons on the outside respond pretty quickly, and then the buttons on the rest of it, I mean, you press it and it pretty much happens instantaneously. It just looks a little bit more old school, but I mean, it responds just like all of the other modern touchscreens. Now this area is where the analog controls for the heated seats are, and then you can see you do get a dual zone climate in the Limited. That's your driveline select, so your 2-wheel drive, your 4-wheel high, and then your 4-wheel low. Got your engine stop start button. Bunch of controls in this little area. So you got a little 12 volt right here, and then a little USB. This is actually for the window on the rear, so you do just get like a traditional window that pretty much any truck has if they have an automated window. Parking sensor, and then this is for the power, and then you get your blind spot monitoring. You actually do get a wireless phone charger, a couple of cup holders, and then here's the shifter for that 6-speed automatic. Now remember, you can shift the gears yourself if you want with that little manual shift function. Get a traditional little e-brake, got a cup holder, and then kind of like a storage area. This is the center console. Notice that you do have a little thread through for cable right there. And then in terms of the padding on the top, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, you guys can kind of see how that is. And then they actually have padding here on the glove box and with some stitching. Opening it up, the glove box in the Tacoma for a mid-sized truck, it's actually pretty large. Now up top here, you got your regular sunglass holder, and then it does come with a sunroof. So this is kind of like your cool like street truck that's got some nice luxury features in it, and that's all for the top. Black headliner. It looks like you guys can actually see this. So this is all of the packages it has, and hopefully I'll zoom in so you guys can kind of read that a little bit better. So you can see the extra packages this truck has added. So that was the base MSRP before any options are added, and then you obviously have the lift, and then you have the other packages that are added. So the total price is right there, $52,786. And with all of that being said, let's take this lifted Tacoma Limited out and see how she drives. Let's talk about visibility here on the Tacoma Limited before we set off. So there's visibility over the hood, which is probably gonna be the best you're gonna get in any Tacoma, just saying, just because there's no venting or anything. There's your visibility through both of the mirrors, and then all throughout the rear. And just because of the higher ride height setting that this has with the lift, I don't know why I said setting, but because the higher ride height, the visibility is really solid all around you. And well, let's set off. Well, I'm initially setting off here in this lifted 2020 Tacoma Limited, and so far I actually really like this truck. So I love the look of lifted Tacomas. I just think that it's one of the best looking mid-sized trucks on the market right now, just from like an aesthetic appearance. And when you lift it, it just works. Like, it just looks really good. I feel like the Colorado is somewhat overstyled with like the side haunches and everything. The Ranger's pretty cool looking. I haven't seen a lot of lifted Rangers though, is the problem. People really don't lift those that much, or at least they don't lift them that much here. Everyone lifts Tacomas here. But yeah, just like the appearance on the outside, just, it looks so cool. And taking a turn here, yeah, maneuverability on it's really solid actually. And it doesn't, I noticed that I had to go to a full lock getting out of the parking lot. Doesn't rub at all or anything like that, which, I mean, it's just a good quality lift, so it's nice that it doesn't do that. But, well, randomly stopping here, I guess that this person's gonna kind of let everyone go out. It's a nice thing to do sometimes, but also if you let one person out to then block like 3 people behind you, are you really doing the world a favor? Just, that's the question of the day, guys. But yeah, it's solid. And I actually like the feel here. So like, just like this seating position with this lift, it just kind of has this like nice, like kind of like more of like a king of the road presence, just like how you actually sit in the Tacoma itself. So it's really solid on that. It's doing good. Now we're just gonna get one more turn up here, and then obviously we'll get our acceleration after that, just to kind of see how the steering feels at a little bit higher speeds with this lift. So yeah, the steering is kind of like the normal vagueness that just any Tacoma is. I noticed maybe a little bit more vagueness compared to a regular Tacoma, but it's not that much more vague, honestly. It's pretty much right on par with where it should be. Gonna get our acceleration now with this lifted Tacoma. Well, so the 6-speed automatic, I mean, it did take a second once I got into the pedal for it to go through the shifts. Now I'm gonna put it in the manual shift mode to kind of see how that performs differently in terms of just the gear shift. So when I downshift, it happens at a pretty quick pace. Does take a second when you do an upshift. Even on throttle, it does take a second to shift, so just take that into account with the transmission. Now, here's what I feel about the power. On road, you are gonna feel like it's lacking a little bit with this lift and this tire setup. However, when you are going off-roading, you don't really need nearly as much power as what you need on road for something to feel adequate. And so this would be enough off-road power-wise, especially if you're doing rock crawling with it and all that kind of stuff. It's just on road where it's going to just feel like it lacks a little bit. And that'll actually lead me into summing things up. I think that this limited package is pretty interesting on the Tacoma. I can understand why this isn't going to sell in super high volume numbers compared to like a TRD or the TRD Pro. And the reason being is, yes, this is a little bit less expensive than those packages, depending on the exact options. It's pretty close in price to like a TRD Sport, for example. But TRD Pro, it's a little bit less money, but not that much less. You get similar interior luxury features with the Limited, but the exterior styling isn't as cool as what's on the TRD Sport or the TRD Pro. And so again, I think this package is pretty cool if you just want the luxury features. If you don't plan on taking this truck off-road, great. It's a good package to go for. But if you're like most Tacoma buyers and you're gonna do some sort of off-roading, I would lean towards like a more loaded up like TRD Sport, TRD off-road package, or the TRD Pro. Get the same luxury features, you get the cool aesthetics, and you get the better off-road capability. You still do have to throw on cooler tires like what this has, but I think that's definitely the route to go with the Tacoma. That is going to sum things up for our video on this 2020 Tacoma Limited with the lift. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Toyota here in Murray for providing us with this truck. I'm going to include a link to their inventory where obviously you can check out this truck and a bunch of other vehicles. Check them out. I'll see all of you in the next video.